I got Calgary to win for sure.
It is Tuesday. RawMikeRichards.com on the air in downtown Toronto, 234 King Street East. It is also Beer Day, the beer delivery palooza, in which the massive beer trucks take 9,000-pound kegs and bowl people over on the sidewalk trying to get the beer in. It really is something to watch, and sadly, makes everyone here on this show thirsty. Lots of things to talk about today, and some of them kind of non-sports, if you want to put it that way. Then we're going to have a guest in, Kevin Porter, who is, boy, I'll tell you what, you get to some interesting stories doing this for a living, and to me, it's always the side that if it's delves into the human interest, it always makes it that much more interesting. Kevin Porter is 42 years of age, correct?
Yes, he is. Yep.
He's going to join us in studio, and at some point, he's a first responder, and he's going to tell the story of actually going into a building, and the floor collapsing, and then him realizing that life goes by pretty quickly. So if you want to do something with your life, next day you never know. So he decides, maybe I'll go back and try pro hockey. And he did. And currently now plays for a professional team in Sweden, which also means he would actually qualify. We'll ask him about this. Being a Canadian citizen and playing in a pro league, he could try for our Canadian Olympic team. So what is that like in your 40s to all of a sudden start training at the professional level? And at one point, you could be in the Olympics with the Canadian maple leaf on your jersey, the same one worn by the Sidney Crosbys and the Mario Lemieux. Like, when you think about it, that literally is the crazy fantasy, is you're sitting around having a couple of pints with your buddies, and you go, you know what, I think I'm going to try pro hockey. Sure, Russell. And you played, what was that, All-Star House League?
Tier 7.
It's just one of those stories, and he's going to come here, and guess what? He's done it. He's doing it. How far does this go? Well, for a guy like that, don't put a ceiling on him. That's all I know.
I want an update on what's going on, because I know he's in full-fledged training, full-time job, married. He has a lot on his plate right now, so I'm kind of curious, because there's always free agent camps. A lot of people telling him no, and he's waiting for that one answer that says yes. So we'll see. We'll see where he's doing this year too.
It's the quite honestly the never give up.
That's right.
Not never gonna give you up. Never gonna.
Which is a good song too by Rick Astley.
All around and desert you.
Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell you lies that hurt you.
That hurt you. You didn't think you were gonna get rickrolled today. You just did. We've been together for so long. And so do I. What was that? And then he looked like Opie. It was so weird.
He did.
Like a full-on ginger.
I was going to say Andy Dalton, but okay.
He does look like Andy Dalton.
Opie's good.
Oh, and we're going to get to some money today when it comes to NFL quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford has become the highest-paid player in the history of the NFL.
And deservedly so. All those playoff games he's won, all those championships.
Yeah, remember that Super Bowl that he hold on, wait a minute.
He watched.
Just looking at your paper. Wait a minute, he's done none of that. Oh, it's a weird world. We'll get to that, some of the salaries as well. But some of the sports that have been moved around because of Hurricane Harvey that is affecting the southern part of the tip of Texas. You go through Houston, which has been bombarded. So just behind me, as you're watching us today on RawMikeRichards.com and our dedicated YouTube channel, here's some footage of what you're seeing currently in Houston. It is surreal. It's like a bad dream. As you can see, the water levels are up to almost past like an SUV. All you can see is the roof. As you see coming down, if you're watching it, there's a stop sign in what is like a townhouse complex. The water has almost completely submerged the stop sign. The people on the second level are waiting to be rescued, and this camera work that you're currently seeing is taken via boat because people are leaving their homes, some of them in inflatable tubes. It's ridiculous what sometimes this world is capable of in terms of its devastation. And I mean, look at it, pickup trucks, what would you do? I mean,
it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
Like, a lot of people go, well, insurance, or you can talk that way, but what if you came home and every single thing that you've ever collected in your life, from grandparents, uncles, sometimes it might be a parent, maybe a brother you lost. I mean, you never know what people's valuables are, and they're gone. They'll be ruined. Like, if you have photo albums, or let's say your computer is completely gunned, what if every moment you ever had with your family is in there? It is gone forever. And, some people might have it, but just think about it. Where do you live? Where do you go from here? It's truly some disturbing pictures, Dave.
Yeah, it's devastating. And they talk about, the years and years of recovery. All these pictures courtesy of ABC television in the Houston area, by the way. And, we talk about, the rain's supposed to subside by the weekend, they're saying, but it's going to be a long time until this is actually fixed. And this is a major U.S. city that has major businesses, especially in the oil industry.
Well, that's apparently going to affect us at the pumps as well.
This is going to affect North America.
Yeah. So that's the least of our probably worries, and it should be more about the people down there. And I know that there has been, a significant relief effort, and once again, courtesy of ABC down in Houston. That is some of the real horrible pictures. So football games have been moved in college football. You'll also see there's some baseball games that have moved as well. Yeah,
the Houston Astros are playing a series with the Texas Rangers in Tampa Bay, apparently. So,
they picked a great place.
Yeah, they picked a fantastic place. You know what the one disappointing part is, and there's been a lot of give and take on Twitter about this, is the Houston Astros owner asked to switch series with the Texas Rangers owner because of what's happened, and the Texas Rangers owner said no to it.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's
and then when they backtrack on it, they're like, well, because we would have been on the road for X amount of days. I don't get it. One of the teams is not going to be part of the postseason, and the other one is going to win the division. But I don't get the put financial differences to the side in this kind of situation, Mike. But we'll see what happens here.
Look, and this is something that in national media south of the border has got some significance. Mike and Mike, who do ESPN, they're like, why did you do that? Why did you say that? It's decision making like that has people, and we'll get to the Art Briles decision, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, which has people kind of scratching their head, and we'll sort of address that in a little bit. But it's the same thing. When someone is talking about making a decision like that, where is sort of the voice of reason, where someone says, yeah, but see, we're not going to the playoffs, and their city's devastated. And they are. So wouldn't it be okay? Like, wouldn't it be good from even a PR standpoint to help them out?
Bingo.
No, it wouldn't. Screw you, Houston. And you have to realize, so it's Houston, geographically, is just sort of straight south of Dallas, a little bit to the east, but basically straight down. You go through a place called College Station, which you might know from Texas A&M, right down there through Galveston. You probably remember the Glenn Campbell. Glenn Campbell, big song.
Yeah, Rhinestone Cowboy.
Yeah, not singing that.
No.
They have enough troubles. Rick Astley already made an appearance on the show, and I think we all feel sick about that. But really, Dave, what would be the understanding behind that? So we'll, again,
Texas Rangers, by the way, 15 games back of the Houston Astros, 3 games back in the wild card, but very, very much the same sort of situation in that Blue Jay, even though the Jays are 6.5 back, Texas Rangers aren't going to be part of any playoff pictures.
No.
So, and in these kind of situations, Now a lot of people are cheering against him because of the BS that they decided to put on themselves.
Because that's not even a baseball decision. It's not a baseball decision. It's a human situation. It's about ethics and morality and humanity, that you would help out your brothers that are, I'm probably 2.5 hours in there, give or take. Don't get it. Don't get that decision. The Boston Red Sox are up 3.5 on the Yankees. Orioles 8. Tampa Bay 9. I can't believe Baltimore. I'll be honest. They're out of it too. But I thought Baltimore would start sucking the teat of last place as well, where the Blue Jays seem to really want to have that. And you know what? Is there an advantage? That's not like we see in the NFL or NBA or NHL. Is there any advantage to tanking in Major League Baseball?
No, draft-wise, not at all.
It doesn't.
It's almost like you get that first overall pick or whatever it is. If you tank, you're not going to see that player for 3 years, maybe 4 years. It really is there isn't too many 18, 19-year-old players that go hop from college to Major League Baseball. It just doesn't happen like the NHL, like the NFL, like NBA basketball, where the high schooler will finish grade 12, skip the draft, and go boom.
See, Carey Price is just outside the window.
It is Carey Price.
Carey Price. I don't know if we can zoom in on that.
We can see Carey Price.
An angle? Because Carey's bulked up.
Yeah.
He apparently.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Yeah. Can you see him?
Yeah.
Well, he's helping with the beer, and I got to tell you, Carey Price can do a lot of things. But I
Carey
think
Price is the guy.
He was doing some beer. Of the world of strange decisions. By the way, Kevin Porter going to come up in about.
He just walked into the building. He's waiting for us. Yeah, that's great.
First, I thought he had a six-pack. I go, he is the greatest man I've ever known. And then it's coffee. Still, whatever. Give it up for the guy. The Hamilton Tiger Cats hire yesterday afternoon, I believe, Art Briles.
What's Google? There.
So we do have a picture of Art. Yeah. There's a.
Just the video.
Just the video? Okay. So we'll run the. So this has made headlines. You need to know the backstory. So the backstory is he's coaching Baylor. And Baylor, for the years that he was winning them Big 12 championships, they'd score about, 70 points a game.
Roughly.
He was considered to be one of those offensive geniuses, which that you cannot take away. But also falls into almost and I guess the way I would put it is a Joe Paterno, ignorance over what was happening with his own program with regards to some real serious issues with his football team, a lot of sexual assault, rapes. But it appeared to be, and this is what nightmares are made of, rampant. Now, 2 of those players were convicted of rape.
Yep.
And so, pleading ignorance at that point not only is sketchy and makes people sort of, feel very uncomfortable, but then there was a feeling that there was actually cover-up, which, of course, is unforgivable. So he obviously is let go by the program in Waco and would receive an undisclosed amount of money, but it could have been in the tens of millions. So it's not like you literally need the job. And for whatever reason, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, in their current state of desperation, they bring in, June Jones steps up because Ken Austin just becomes part of management. June Jones, who used to run, he was in the state of Texas at one point, but June Jones has been everywhere, including the University of Hawaii. But he's an offensive-minded coach, figures we'll give Art another chance. I'm not saying they're buddies, but they certainly competed against each other. They would have known each other. He has a reputation, that is Art Briles, of being that offensive-minded guru, so they figure in the desperation that Hamilton is in that they would hire him yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
Within literally hours, because people started obviously tweeting me, knowing that I have a background going to Hamilton Tiger Cat games, being a Hamilton fan, and, of course, having the show and reputation that I have for the last 27 years. But it goes far beyond just reaching out to a Canadian sports personality, Dave. It makes it on TMZ. You've got NBC, CBS. You've got ESPN covering it, and it's the take on it. And this is, again, courtesy of ESPN. Here's what they showed.
Briles was back in football for a few hours, then back out. He was hired by the CFL's Hamilton Tiger Cats as an assistant earlier today, but the team announced a short time ago he won't be joining the team. A year ago, he was fired by Baylor after the school's sexual assault allegations and his possible role in the cover-up. The CFL added this statement: the commissioner is in continuing discussions with the Hamilton Tiger Cats regarding the hiring of Art Briles as a coach. We will have no further comment until those discussions have concluded.
Once again, I think the word there is cover up, and that's why it was such a bizarre situation. So the question, and sort of being thrown out is, does someone in that situation deserve what we like to call a second chance? Because you do see it a lot in football. You see these players who, some of them have gone to jail and come back. Whether you're taking a look at, Michael Vick, those that have reputations because of, well, in this case, domestic violence. Ray Rice. Comments were made about Floyd Mayweather. Why does he get to go and make $100 billion when he was actually convicted for wife beating, which is what people call him? So it gets into that moral, I wouldn't say a dilemma. It's where you stand on, at times, second chances. And this is, Dave, honestly, what my take is. I think it's one thing to be part of a program and responsible for our children, which is what happens when you're an NCAA coach, that we expect that you will be, at least to some degree, accountable for their lives. Not all of them are mentors. Not all of them look after them like their own children. I know that's a nice story, and I know that you try to make that narrative for these coaches, but the reality is NCAA sport, especially a big-time football program, it's not necessarily the case. In fact, that would probably be the rarity. It is a big-time business where their business is winning football games, and they will do it for the most part in any way they can to achieve that success. It's one thing to not know about something going on, but it's quite another to cover it up. If it comes to second chances, I would suggest most of those, if not all of the young women who suffered that traumatic experience, they will get no second chance in their life after a rape has occurred, after sexual assault has occurred. There's no second chance for them. So I think the moment you're responsible for either a cover-up, lending to it, enabling individuals to do pretty much the most horrific thing I can think of, you have now forfeited your ability to make a living in that particular venue. To me, you don't get a second chance. You get a second chance at being a better person. You get a second chance at trying to make something out of your life where you do something that will hopefully be for the betterment of society. But you don't get to do football anymore because those women, to some degree, at least spiritually, lost their lives.
Bingo. Well said. I can't follow that up because that was said perfectly. And I'll push this a step forward and say, enjoy hell, because that's where you're headed. And say hi to the Penn State head coach too, because he's already has room number 27.
Well, I mean, you talk, and again, I think Dave, the Sandusky's of the world. I mean, again,
that guy's a piece of garbage
he's
too.
A full-on predator, pedophile, if you want to put it that way, because I don't see it any differently, really.
I just see, and the thing that bothers me too is if you're the Hamilton Ticats and you're thinking about this, what goes through your mind of going, yeah, you know what, this is a good idea. I don't understand this for the life of me. Like I'll go back in the NFL and say I hated the idea of Michael Vick back in the NFL. I hated that idea.
There's still some people, Dave, there's still some people who do.
Yeah, and you know what? And he seems to have changed things around, but man, just the thought process of how deep a person could go in that grotesque sort of thinking, the level of thinking that goes into it. I don't think there's second chances with certain people, and I think this is a really good example in Hamilton about one that isn't. The guy's in his 60s, and I know some information about this that we'll reveal right now. The reason the Ticats wanted to do this is because of the relationship this coach has with Robert Griffin III. They played together under Baylor. Robert Griffin III is a free agent. Hamilton actually has him on the NAG list, and there was a possibility of him coming to Hamilton. This is the only way I could imagine why Hamilton would even consider this. But the backlash and the embarrassment, I mean, it's been a terrible season in Hamilton, and I feel bad for those fans because they really are very good CFL fans.
Great fans.
For decades.
Yeah.
But the embarrassment of what this has done for the organization, the fan base, and honestly, the owner who seems to be Mr. Personality and very, very public and very, I don't understand how this even was remotely signed off upon. This should have been a boardroom conversation and going, you're joking, right?
I don't.
You're joking, right?
You know, there are some people who I'm not saying he's insulated because he's actually calls himself the caretaker,
and he is.
And Bob the billionaire, there's a little bit of crazy town going on there, but in a real fun way. I mean, he's sunk more money into this thing to make this thing happen. He's not making money from it.
No.
And I don't think that he was quite in tune with, say, like the Scott Mitchells of the world, who
Correct.
I've known for a very long time. I have. That they wouldn't sit there and go, do you think there's a possibility that this would be okay? Well, someone's going to sit there and go, no, this.
Hey, what to God somebody did.
Then why don't you just bring back, like, people say, well, it's not Sandusky, it's not the same thing. He didn't perpetrate, the sexual assaults, but you're still knowing of it, and it's not that there's ignorance to it. It's the cover-up.
Yes,
it's the cover-up, and people just can't accept that.
If you cover it up, you're part of what happened.
Well, and then how can that be part of your community standards? That's what I don't understand. Now, do I sometimes worry about society where it's very unforgiving and there's this lack of forgiveness at times? Yeah, it does make me feel a little uncomfortable. And there are times where, I mean, you know me, Dave, long enough. I probably would be known for someone who does give second chances.
Yes.
To a fault.
Very much so.
Maybe to a degree. I mean, there's people in my lives that have taken full advantage of the fact that I can be an easy mark that way because I think that I can help people. I think that I can do things for others and it will make their lives better, and a lot of times that has failed. But this is one case where I don't think I'm looking at the other side saying, yeah, this would be a nice rehabilitation, or this is going to be redemption, I guess is the word I'm looking for, because I don't think this had a chance. Yeah. And that's, again, for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, I hope they find their way out of this. Does it go beyond this? I know some people were talking about apologizing. Okay. Let's not bring out the knives. It was a terrible decision. They went back on it, but I don't think it goes for, like, I'm just not one of those that needs to see now a stoning take place. Mm-hmm. That part I don't agree with. So it was a horrific decision. They went back on it. Randy Ambrosi steps in as the league and probably has a big chat and says, I'll take this off your hands. We'll say that the league is saying that you can't do this.
Bingo.
Then they're fine. So, again, now in a couple seconds here, we're going to talk to Kevin Porter. And actually, this is a good story. This actually makes us feel pretty good today, although I'll say yesterday was one of my favorite shows with Chris Walby. If you didn't watch the interview, and certainly if you're a CFL fan, and you don't have to be from Winnipeg, you know who Chris Walby is. The sun was blotted out when he stepped onto the field. Great character. I thought he did a very good job in the booth when he was with CBC. It was a great, if you haven't seen it, go to the website or go and subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch some of the promos that we put out. And Chris was there yesterday. I thought that was great. That and Dave's reenactment of the Corona Girls during the Mayweather-McGregor fight. You don't get great acting like that.
No,
you don't. Not everywhere.
There's a reason why I've been in a couple movies.
Yeah, well, #star is, I think, what we're saying. But before we get to Kevin, other news we want to talk about, we talked baseball briefly.
Yes.
The Blue Jays, regardless of how big a fan you are, you're going to have to realize at some point, who do you keep? Well, I'm not sure what Kevin Pillar's contract is, but man, oh man, the guy really is a highlight reel. And look, there was one issue where he said something and this is the other thing. I'm not so much, did you hear what he said in the field? Okay, look, I played at a pretty decent level of sport. I've been around for a long time. Words to me spoken, even though in this day and age you got to be real careful what you say, and some are just unacceptable. But that doesn't mean I read into his personality any further than that. It was a mistake. He's moved on, but you can't take away from what he does on the field, because Kevin Pillar last night, even in a losing cause, proved it again.
Seventh, the pitch. Swing, there's a shot toward the gap in right center field. Pillar on the go, still going hard, dives and makes a sensational catch. Oh, what a play. Pillar, a sensational outfielder, went leaping through the air.
On the rubber.
Up and grabbed it, hit the carpet hard. And
not the carpet.
Actually, the rubberized warning track.
Yes. That's fun, Dave.
He went flying through the air.
He slid on
outfielder.
it. Do you know the burn? Wow. Yeah, Stroman should be happy.
That was an acrobatic play. It looked like he suspended in midair. His teammates
amazing. By the way, that of course brought to us by Major League Baseball, property of Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball Advanced Media.
Jays fall 13 games back, 6.5 back of the wild card. Game over.
Oh, but I thought they had a chance. No, they didn't. I get being the half glass full guy.
No, I'm not.
Even though, no, I know you're not. This glass is empty. No, it's half full. It's half empty then. Jays, how many of these guys do they keep? Well, Tulo they have to, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
He's staying.
You know what? Bautista is in his last season, so enjoy September. And I hope the crowd gets out there and thanks him for being a top 10 Blue Jay.
Hey, they
of all
still
time.
draw. The TV ratings are still
seriously,
big. And they're in last place.
Exactly. You'd like to say that they change up a couple positions, but Martin's here to stay. Tulo's here to stay. Donaldson is his final year. I'm hoping they could probably do something with him in the offseason as far as a re-up, because I think that's a guy you want to re-up with. First base, Justin Smoke has a year left on his contract. Devin Travis hopefully comes back from his injury and starts at second base. They need corner outfielders. If they don't get themselves a right and a left fielder, big-time problems, and Kendrys Morales has to rebound in the designated position.
Do you keep him? Are you interested in keeping him?
Well, you have to. You have 2 more years left on the contract, unless you could dump it somehow. I don't know where they're going to dump it.
Would someone be interested in a designated hitter?
I wouldn't. A guy that runs slower than molasses and hits for average power. Big-time comeback is needed if he's going to be worth the value of that contract.
Have you ever thought about reevaluating your life to the point where you could be in your 40s and decide that you're going to venture back into professional sports? A lot of guys fantasize about this.
Sure.
And I can tell you almost no one does it, because the amount of work it takes to do what Kevin Porter is doing is almost unheard of. This courtesy of the Toronto Sun. Kevin Porter's going to tell us his story at the age of 42, venturing into professional hockey now.
Unfinished business. I don't just come out here just to go play men's league, and that's... No slight to anybody who plays men's league, because we've all done it and we all will again. But my goal is, I have an ultimate goal, and whether somewhere in Ontario or back in Sweden or something, you have to shoot for the stars, right? That old cliche, because if you don't, what's driving you? Sometimes I got to just slow her down a little bit and focus more on the technique rather than the speed. And it's amazing just when you train when you're tired, how things kind of they come together. I've had mixed, right? Most people think it's cool. Other people say I'm nuts, I'm crazy, but I think it's, life is short. I've seen that, I think, with my jobs, and I lost a lot of family members young. I had an accident at the fire department back in 2010 with my crew, and we went to a house fire and went through the floor into the basement, and I think right after that I said, man, you know what, your life can be over so quick. And something was missing. I didn't achieve this goal, so I just basically been on a mission for the last 7 years to try to make that come to fruition. I came up with a plan, and I said, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to take my time doing it. I'm going to do it right, and whatever steps in my way, I'm just going to go through it, and I'm going to find a way.
There is
based on work.
We're back on. There's Kevin Porter, who all of a sudden is a mic hog. So I just got to tell you,
come on, Porter, settle down.
That's the kind of thing we don't want to see in practice. Kevin Porter is joining us here.
This is an awesome story.
It is a fantastic story. And I'll tell you what, it's the kind of almost fantasy story that a lot of guys they dream about. And you know who you are, sitting there in your job, and all of a sudden. There's Maslow around the corner. He gets by. He gets by Gardner. He shoots his course. Kevin, you're attempting this. Well, you're doing this.
Yeah, it kind of came about. So it started about 6 years ago. I mean, it started when I was a young kid growing up in Kitchener. I grew up in Kitchener, and big hockey town.
So what level did you get to as a kid?
I got to AA.
So you got the AA.
Right, got to AA, and some family things happened when I was 16. My mom passed away. I got cut from the AA team. My Nana died, and this all happened within 3 months. So, then I got injured going to try out for a AAA team that fed the OHL, the Kitchener Rangers, basically.
Which would have been a dream if you're playing in that area to play for the Rangers because they're fantastic.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we trained, we played at the auditorium. You know, you're in that scene all the time, kind of like London, Kitchener, big hockey.
Absolutely.
Cities. So when I had my hand slashed and broken, I couldn't play the overage year to qualify to get drafted. I decided to go back to school a few years later, and did the paramedic program, became a paramedic. Went back to school to become a firefighter, and you guys have read my story, I'm sure, and things just happened. And then I got back into hockey about 6 years ago. I started training. I went to some East Coast Hockey League camps. Had a bit of success in my first one in Brampton. They were going to use me as a spare, as a call up.
Yep.
That didn't
The Beast,
happen.
yep.
The Beast, yeah.
So these guys would be what, 20 years younger than you, more?
Sure, whatever.
Right.
18, 25, 30.
Yeah.
I don't care, right? If you have the opposing jersey on.
But it did.
You're,
But you go to the coaches and say, "Well, here I am. I'm gonna try out."
Yeah.
And they say, "How old are you?"
I guess. Well,
Is that what?
You know what? They asked me how old I said my date of birth is on the registration form, so you know how old I am.
Sure.
So actually, I had a coach, I'm sorry, first time on radio, a little nervous.
No, you're doing well, man.
No cameras, at least, right?
Oh yeah,
no,
the
there's
camera's
camera
right there. No, we're live.
Jeez, okay.
Just so you know, we're live. So if you
Okay.
want to say hi to your wife who you never see, you can do that now.
So I had an agent, and he would send him clips or whatever, videos. And he sees a 75, and they're like, "What do you mean, Donnie? He's a 75. Don't you mean 85?" He says, "No, he's a 75." So that's kind of hockey talk for years, right?
And back when guys, so in the day, people wouldn't say, "Oh, like for me, oh, he's a 63." Nobody used that terminology. I don't know when it started, but I think it was post like 1980. So no one's saying. I've never heard someone say, "Oh, Kevin, yeah, he's a 75."
Well, I even get mixed up now because I'm around the hockey guys a lot, and they'll be like, "Yeah, he's a 2000, or he's a 2003, or he's an 80." What? Like, what are you talking about? How old's a kid? Just tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? You can't let it deter you, and I think the reason I've been able to kind of progress and get back into the groove is because I've been skating with so many young guys, right? So when you skate with the young guys, you are forced to learn what they've learned. Like when we were all growing up, hockey was so different. Now there's so much emphasis on edge work and edge control and skating, and if you can't skate, you can't play, right? So, and I've been very fortunate to work with some of the best coaches and skills coaches in the GTA, and I've learned so much.
But what's the moment? Was there a crystallized moment in your life where you're working as a first responder? I guess we would call it.
I work for Brampton Fire.
Okay.
And I work as a paramedic for Peel Region EMS and York Region EMS.
So why all of a sudden the dream of professional hockey? Why does it get in your head?
You know, it was always something that I had, like I said, I felt like I had unfinished business due to, life circumstances. And we all have things in life that you want to do and they don't get accomplished. So it was definitely, I'd have to say, in 2010, I fell through the floor into a basement fire, which was a grow lab in Brampton, myself and my partner on the back of the truck. And that just shook my world. And it was a combination of a bunch of little things that add up that you just get to a point where you're like, I have to do this. Like, I have to do it. And I don't care what it takes. I'm going to find a way, and I'm going to come up with a master plan. I'm going to figure it out. And I just kind of gained momentum along the way, right? Like, every time somebody would say no, I would just say, okay, well, I'm enjoying this process. So you can tell me no a million times. I'm
Keep it going.
Keep doing it. And then everything just started snowballing, just started progressing, and I started to feel better on my skates and get quicker again, and my speed was up, and I just kept at it. And I mean, I figured I had nothing to lose, right?
No, that's
the worst they're going to say is no, and I'm going to go back and work my dream jobs anyways. So, that's kind of my attitude. And
So Steel City, Sweden, Brampton, Toledo, San Francisco, Reading. I don't think it's called Reading. The Federal League. What's next? What's the next step here in 2017-18 hockey season? Can you bring us up to date here in late August?
Yeah, so I've had a few offers over in Sweden. One of the teams is in Malmo. Another team is just outside of Gothenburg in Sweden. And I have a PTO lined up in Port Huron, which is the Federal Hockey League. I had another call from Southern Professional Hockey League, and I'm working on a few more things at a few higher levels as well.
Now, when you say that in this day and age, and we talked about the differences of what we see in hockey. I mean, you had to send videotape, I guess, at some point. How are these teams seeing you? How are you getting this done? I assume you're doing it all yourself.
So a few years ago, I said, well, I had an agent at Uptown Sports Management in Burlington, and Donnie was sending out a lot of video and stuff to guys, and I just said, well, you know what? Like, I'd see them doing video and taking video. I've done some skating with Barb Underhill, Daryl Belfry, he came out and helped me one day, Mike Ellis from the Leafs. So they always take video. So I always watch what other people do. I say, well, if they're taking video so they can show their players how to get better, why don't I do the same thing?
Sure.
And, you know, if the stuff's good enough that I think I can put it out there on social media, people see it. And because I don't have an agent, agents make money off players. When you're a bit older, it's hard. They don't want to take you on because they're not going to make money. So I said, okay, I'm going to litter my social media with video, and hopefully someone will see me. Because, I mean, all it takes is one, right, to get a good shot. So that's the attitude I've kind of had to adopt. And, yeah, it's kind of what I'm doing. So.
When do you have to make this decision? Because we're almost knocking on September's door. There's people starting to get into camp soon. We just talked to a couple NHLers last week. It starts up in about 2 weeks. They've been skating for a while too. So
yeah, in Sweden they start a little bit later. Some of the leagues are already going, and some start, you know, kind of middle September, late September, middle October even. So they play a bit of an abbreviated season over there, the league that I played in. So I've got a few weeks to decide, and it happened really last minute last year, so I kind of expect the same.
So hypothetically, the Swedish opportunity, possibly.
Yep.
Because we don't want to jinx anything.
Yeah,
I know exactly how the athletes think and talk. What happens to the job here in Brampton?
So I'm fortunate that way. I'm able to do shift changes, and the fire service, Fire Chief Mike Clark last year in Brampton, he afforded me a leave of absence, and I was able to capitalize on that. You know, the scheduling guys in York Region were wonderful helping me out. Same within Peel Region with my time off, and actually worked when I came home for my Christmas break. I did my shifts at work.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's just the way, you know, I came home. They do like a 3-week break over there at Christmas, so I was able to come home. I worked, made everybody happy here, and then go back over there and make everybody happy. Life's a juggling match,
sure
right?
It is, yeah.
You know, it was great because I only had to focus on hockey. So, you know, that's a big plus.
Well, it's just, again, we're in conversation with Kevin Porter here on rawmike.richards.com. You're hearing a very interesting, a very different story than generally anything we've covered. But I got to be honest, almost anything else I've ever seen, it just takes such big balls to do what you're going to do. And I'll be honest, for a lot of guys who would attempt this, not only would they get discouraged by the no's at the very beginning, but there'd be a lot of coaches who just wouldn't take the chance, or, quite honestly, just not good enough, just really not good enough to share the ice with guys who are 20, 25 years younger than you. So that hasn't happened. So, you know, I've only seen the piece that we just saw the video coming in there, and I'm looking at your skating, just sort of the hands and stuff like that, because it's all excellent. I mean, if you didn't tell me that player was in their 40s and I only saw that tape, I don't think it's a guy in his 40s. Like, I don't. So you obviously must play at a level that is of interest to some of these teams. Like, how do you gauge that? How do you gauge where you are in comparison to those guys who are 20 years younger? Because I'm getting the understanding, at least from you anyway, and I've got this from a lot of athletes who've gone a long way, including the Doug Flutys of the world. You don't see it. You only see the competition.
Yeah, well, you know, when I get out there, like in practice, like, you know, on a lot of mornings I go skate after I get off work because ice time availability, and I like to skate where I like to skate for a number of reasons, and it just gives me great energy when I train at MasterCard. So I just look at it, and I don't really compare myself to other players. I look at things that I needed to work on, like what are my attributes, right? So I'm a quick skater. Like, I'm 200 pounds. I like to hit. I don't mind getting hit. I like to play aggressive. I like to go to the net. So I try to focus on those traits, and hopefully I can bring something like that to a team. I also skate with a lot of D1 kids, Division I, OHL kids. I skated with Fedor Gordeev, who's one of the Leafs draft picks. And so I'm able to skate with these kids, and I'm really lucky. I can kind of gauge my performance, how I'm doing, what I need to work on, and kind of just – I analyze everything. I look at video and I analyze it. I break it down. I watch other players. I watch a lot of hockey clips online. You know, I get a lot of ideas from my coaches that have helped me over the years. And you know, if I go to practice and I mess something up, okay, you know what? Later in the day, maybe I'm going to go back and work on it if I have ice. Or tomorrow, I'm going to just do that for an hour.
Yeah,
I'm just going to solely do that for 1 hour until I get it. So,
how's the body reacting right now? I'm a couple of years older than you. I'm a former junior player myself, and when I go on the ice with the boys, obviously I'm not near the level I was before and so forth, but there's the aches and pains. My feet hurt, my back hurts, my knees hurt. Life is different in their 40s. You know what I mean? It is.
It can be, definitely, but I think, and my friend Matt Nickel has a really good saying. It says the best rehab is good prehab, right?
Yes.
So make sure you take care of your body first, and you kind of, I'm really diligent with that. I go to Myo-Detox, which is...
Well, you look like dynamite, man. You look great.
Yeah.
I try, but, it's not only for hockey. I mean, my life depends on it, right?
Sure.
For my jobs.
Absolutely.
So, I take it very seriously. It's a lifestyle, and it just happens to be that I've kind of turned that and been able to focus it to hockey. So, massage, chiro, my chiropractor, Dr. Ken Kanakin's fantastic. I go to Myo-Detox for, all my soft tissue work. You have to stay on top of it, right?
Sure.
In my mind, I'm a pro athlete, right? So if I'm going to progress to the next level, I have to treat my body and this like a pro athlete, and I also have to work unlike the guys that are playing full time. So I have to almost do more. You know what I mean? To stay.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, okay, we'll go to practice in the morning, they get the afternoon off, maybe have a game that night, maybe don't. I might have to go to work. I might have to be up all night at a fire, or if I'm working ambulance, lifting people. So I have to almost do a little bit more, but I'm fine with it. I mean, it is what it is, right?
You had mentioned Barb Underhill, who's worked with I don't know how many guys now. It's the list is almost endless. It's
Worked
huge
for the Leafs too.
Yeah, huge. So, would a Gary Roberts then? Is that someone you've talked to? Because when it comes to that kind of stuff, or is that
no? I've never spoken with Gary. I've seen Gary around. I know Gary's fantastic. He's got his NHL guys. So I trained off season this year with Jim Thompson. And Journey to Excel, Adrian Lamonaco. I skated with Adrian for 5 years, and I also did some work with Jim this summer and helped the kids out there a bit. So I've been very fortunate with these guys, and you learn something different off everybody, right? Like you learn. I would love to train with Gary at some point, but you learn something different from everybody. So.
Now, when I heard your story, and because of what has happened with the NHL with respect to the Olympics. So I'm looking at the story, I'm thinking, does that mean that you're going to get a shot at this? Would you get a shot at wearing an Olympic jersey because of the absence of the NHL hockey players? Have you been invited? Is this something you're working on? Is this something you even think of?
There's a lot of really great Canadian hockey players out there, and I'll use Sweden for an example. There's the SHL in Sweden, which they consider the second best league, or the third best. I would consider it the second best league in the world, but a lot of people say that the third after the K. There's so many good Canadian hockey players. I don't think that's in the cards for me. I would never I'd never sell myself out.
Hey, we'll
never
say
never.
Sean Burke for you if you want.
Yeah.
So, I would never say never to anything, because I believe in part of my journey, and it's kind of, Conor McGregor goes by the law of attraction, right? You have to be absolutely 1,000,000% confident you're going to be able to do something in some capacity in order to attain your goal. But there's a lot of competition out there for those positions. I mean, guys are going to be seething,
Sure.
just seething to get there. So
Opportunity
I don't know if that's
lifetime,
realistic for me.
You know what? Well, what if you go to the tryouts like Conor McGregor, and you're wearing the fur coat like that and the glasses and come meet a real fucking God. Come and see what it's like. Maybe do one of them. Are you Irish yourself?
My mom was from England, and my dad's from Canada. So, yeah, that's close enough to Ireland, isn't it?
No, actually, it's bad.
They might not like that.
Yeah.
They're good people. So,
well, so let's talk about the family life then, and start with your parents.
Right.
So I assume, just because of probably the personality that you have, that maybe they weren't surprised by this, or were they like, "Are you okay? Did you fall down too hard, or what happened?"
Well,
there?
It's funny. I mean, another big reason why I undertook this was, I lost my mom when I was 16, right? So it was always just my father and my two sisters. So yeah, I'd mentioned it to my dad. I think my dad was and he's a huge hockey guy. I don't think he understood the seriousness I had with it, and I would tell him about free agent camps, and I would tell him about this, and then when I mentioned Sweden, he was kind of like blindsided him.
Sure.
And then when the thing happened with the paper the other week, which I'm very grateful for, and to to John and Matisse and those guys, I wasn't expecting that at all. I just wanted to tell my story and to help motivate, and that was a big surprise. So, he's been really supportive, but I think kind of taken by like, what are you, crazy? Like, you're 42, you're a firefighter, you're a paramedic. What are you trying to do? But like, why not?
What about the wife conversation? Because look, my wife thinks it's weird when I come up with ideas like, you know what we should do? We should buy this new booze that has chocolate in it. That's about as far as I go. She's like, what, are you crazy? You, different story.
Yeah, so when this all kind of materialized last year, I mean, she was very supportive. She had a lot of questions because she was in a new role. She works for Trillium Health Partners. She's an RN. She's a nurse. So she was in a new role doing quality control and some management things at the hospitals. So she's getting into a new career. And I'm like, oh, hey, like my buddy Randy Edmonds, we used to coach in the Allsvenskan in the SHL, hooked me up, got me a tryout, a contract with a team in Sweden. And I want to go. And it was... Her family was challenging. Like, it was, you're trying to explain it to people, but I mean, you live once, right? Yeah. And the thing is with work and in my lifestyle and things I see, at work, it can be over tomorrow, right? So you might as well go for it.
Yeah.
So there'd be a lot of resentment, I think, if you've ever not done something in life and then you look back at it and you're like, geez, like I should have done it.
Take us into how you score the free agent camp status. Do you scan the web? I've been to a couple in the 90s. I know it's a little bit different today and how it works. Do you have to kind of pitch yourself to go to the camp? Or I know this is all, you kind of take care of the travel and all that kind of business no matter where it is and what happens. But give us the ABCs of how this actually works for you and attaining, an opportunity for coaches to look at you.
Yeah, so a lot of the teams, they advertise. I haven't been to a free agent camp in over 2 years because I started to realize, I mean, they were picking very small numbers of guys to go through the camp. So I started to focus more on, okay, if I can go overseas and play and actually play again,
sure,
there's no need to go to the camps. Because, I mean, I went to a number of camps, and I would find them out on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
They'd advertise, or you go on the East Coast Hockey League website, you can scroll through all the teams and find out the teams that are having the camps, and then it's a matter of, I got to work that weekend.
Yeah.
You're kind of trying to figure out, do I want to go to this one or that one? The good thing with the camps is I made friends because a lot of guys go to the same camps, so you see guys at different camps. Hockey's not only do I love playing, but I love meeting the people, and sometimes I even like training more than playing because you're on the ice for 10-15 minutes versus training hard for an hour. Sorry, I got a little off track there. So with the camps, I would find them online. I would decide which ones I wanted to go to. Sometimes I go to a smaller showing, so you'd have a better shot because there's less guys. Other times I'd show up, there'd be 60, 80 guys, but you could really gauge yourself against the other competitors.
Yeah.
So, and that was good for me to take home too. And I could say, be really honest with yourself. Okay, what did you do well? What do you need to work on? Again, I'd have video. I had a guy come to Toledo with me one year and video all my games, and I could watch it and say, you know what, you're horrible at that. You need to work on that better and work on that better, and just be real with yourself, right? Because it's the only way you're going to achieve.
It's almost like Vince Papali, the Invincible story that Mark Wahlberg did of the guy who was a bartender, and at some point he thought, when they had Dick Vermeil was coaching the Philadelphia Eagles, they had an open tryout. And everyone's like, okay, well, they had to do something because they were so bad, and this was a good PR stunt, and everyone thought it was a stunt, except Vince Papali worked his guts out and actually made the team.
Right.
I watched that. It was a very inspirational movie. To a degree, and this is in Hollywood, you're kind of doing the same thing. You're kind of taking your chance to be a guy who makes an ordinary wage like some people do, doing what you do for a living. You got a family, you've got kids, and yet you're still taking this chance. To me, it's kind of like a real life. That was real life, but this is not Hollywood for you.
No, it's certainly not, and I really have to. Like my schedule, it's really full. My wife, she pencils things in for me too, right? And it's pretty challenging right now. It's just the two of us, right? We don't have kids yet, but we're busy. We have nephews and nieces and all kinds of family obligations. And
has anyone reached out to you, by the way, since that article? Has anyone, any pro or anyone of that people would know that had contacted you, either tweeted you or text or?
Yeah, I had a really nice tweet from Mr. Rich Clune, so that was pretty cool. He's a guy I really look up to. Rich works very hard, and yeah, we'll maybe try to get in a workout with Rich at some point.
There you go. Good idea.
And, yeah, there's a, you know, I've had some really nice compliments and messages and things. So, you know, my goal is I just keep working hard. I got a few days off now. I have to work, so it pains me to drive past the rink because, you know, I hate when work gets in the way of hockey. But you know, the goal is to kind of to flip it around and eventually and be doing that full time. So
That's awesome.
And if not, like, I mean, let's be realistic. I'm 42, right? So I honestly think I can contribute to a team for another 2 to 3 years, and then, you know, we'll see what happens. You know, coaching, training, skills development.
What do the guys in the hall say? What do the guys in the hall say? Do you, I mean, now does that mean you don't have to cook anymore? Like, are you off that shift? You don't have to make chili for the fellas, or what happens?
No, we all share.
Yeah,
we all
yeah,
share.
you still-
One of my buddies on the crew, he's a great cook, so he likes to cook. So
So then say like, "Hey Gretzky, it's your time to clean the dishes."
yeah, well, they joke, right? But no. You know what? Like I said, Mike, it's just a story. I try to work hard, and you know, I'm a pretty basic north-south guy. Work hard, you know, 30, 40 seconds, and I'm off, right? So, you know, get out there, work hard, do the job, keep it real simple. And I think just, you know, outwork. If you can outwork the other players, that's what it is, right? I play wing primarily. I can play center as well, but, you know, anything on the left wall, that's mine. It's my territory. So,
Well, I would say this, Kevin, whether you realize it or not, but I think that this is a story that has reached a lot of people on different levels. So maybe you're not aware of it at this moment about what your story means to others. But I can tell you, I know it has. It has reached people. It has made people. Maybe it's not about, you know, becoming a professional athlete, but it's about not giving up on dreams. It's about not giving up, period. And when you talk about unfinished business, that can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So when they see a story like yours, it is very inspirational. It is a great message. And it just means that people, you know, whether they're told no 1,000 times, maybe 1,001, they don't. And right. That's all you're looking for. You know what? Theo Fleury, who I've known for a long time, he used to say, and of course this is before all the rule changes, and this has nothing to do with off ice and all the turmoil. This is purely a hockey story. I used to say, you know, you'd go into the crease, not be the biggest guy, and they would beat the shit out of him. You know, that's back in the day. You know, cross checks coming at you. You got the goalies hacking on you. He said, "Yep," because the moment you didn't do that, for the one time you don't do it, I score a goal. And that's when you turn around and, you know, that's why he drove players nuts. You literally were hacking him down like a lumberjack to a tree.
Yeah.
But the moment that you stopped hacking away, it went in the net. And that's what he's willing to do. Yeah. And I think you're cut from that cloth, which is, then say no 1,000 times. Because 1,001 when you say yes, I'm going to prove everybody wrong.
Well, that's exactly it, right? So, I mean, you can find motivation in all kinds of different, you know, formats. Like for myself, I can look back on my life and I say, Jesus, if I don't do this, you know, how am I going to feel in 10 years? You know, the other thing too is when I do skate at the MasterCard, there's a lot of people in the building. So if that doesn't motivate you, you know, and I'm not going to say who those people are, you guys might well know who they are. If that doesn't motivate you, just knowing that someone's around there, like, you know, what will motivate you as a hockey player? You're trying to make it, right? So I try to, you know, use those little things to keep me going and just chip away, right? Just chip away.
Kevin, thanks so much for joining us here today on rawmickrichards.com. Once again, you're watching on the rawmickrichards.com, the channel itself, or, of course, as always, on the dedicated YouTube channel as we go live here from 234 King Street East in downtown Toronto, the Pacific Junction Hotel. It's just been great having you today. I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you very much. I'll keep you guys posted.
Fantastic. Yeah, please stay in touch.
Sure,
and as I think many people will. So it was fantastic.
Please drink your $15 coffee.
Yeah, I was going to say. Maybe he should have brought in beer because they said, look, this is the best guy in the world. He brought in a six-pack. So what is it? Coffees cost more than beer, probably.
Yeah, especially from this place.
That is
we're familiar with it.
Kevin Porter. Now, if we just want to put up on the screen there, roast beef, the monies that we're talking about, courtesy of, what do they call it? Sport Tac, Dave? Is that what they call this?
You got it.
These are salaries that maybe one day, Maybe we see Kevin Porter's name on there.
That'd be great.
Maybe not.
Not to be confused with Kevin Porter from the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I know,
That's
because
right.
that does come up as well. It's like, it's not such a great story. He's already got this. He makes $500,000 a year, whatever it is. Yeah, different Kevin Porter.
Yeah, it's a different guy.
Well, you want your name actually right now to be Matthew Stafford is the name you want. As we look after yesterday, he has become the highest paid football player in NFL history.
Yeah.
Staggering, absolutely staggering. $135 million, averaging $27 million a year. And of all the people you thought that you would hear one day being the most and highest paid player in the history of the game, was that name Matthew Stafford? No, it was not. I would suggest that it wasn't. In fact, even Derek Carr, upon getting that contract, but I'll be honest, I kind of understand
The Derek Carr, contract is very deserved. This guy's the future of the NFL. I think this guy is going to be the future poster child. You're going to see him on video game covers, magazine covers, if they still exist, and other stuff like that, because Carr will win a Super Bowl in the next 4 to 5 years.
I'm paying him. If I'm Oakland, that was never, I guess, soon to be Las Vegas. I'm paying Derek Carr the money because at that price, he is the future of your franchise, and who knows in significance of the NFL what he'll be. But if you're looking at these numbers, here's what I always find to be interesting. You know, we're using the tag most highly paid player in the history of the game. So currently more than Carr. But Andrew Luck, and again, this is by the entire, this isn't per season, and this isn't the cap hit either, Dave. So you go Stafford, Carr, Luck, Adamakin Sue, now with Miami, 30 years of age. He is getting $19 million on that $114 million contract.
And it's not a very good defense, by the way. Not a very good Dolphins defense. This is the kind of guy, too, Mike, that we're probably going to hear about in the next couple of years that he's going to be cut from this contract. It's just too much.
It's too much. I mean, see, I think Von Miller's still got some gas left, but he's still up there in the $20 million range.
Now, that's a very good defense in Denver.
Yeah.
That might be the only reason why Denver actually contends, because that offense is garbage, and they have two garbage quarterbacks on a pretty good team in a very, very tough division.
So we should also, the caveat to this is the total number contract, regardless of years left. This is not by average, and this is not cap hit. So therefore, you have following Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, Matt Ryan. You go down the list, J.J. Watt at $16 million per season, the $100 million contract, and based on how long. But you go all the way down, Russell Wilson, Andy Dalton. In comparison, because of when the contract was signed, on this one, I kept scrolling down. I'm scrolling down. Where's Tom Brady? There's Alex Smith. I see that. I'm going down. There's Clay Matthews. I keep going down. I'm like, Tom Brady. Seriously, Rob Gronkowski's there. Russell Graham, Kevin Porter's on that list. I keep going down, and he is down because of again, when that contract was signed, what was left. So Tom Brady gets $20 million a season. Right, and that's not a cap hit either. That's just your $20 million on a contract that's almost 70% done. The contract up in 2020, that is your Tom Brady.
He's almost like that Jose Bautista contract where he signed it a while ago. He's already going to be 42 years old once it expires. And he's not going to get that payday that he deserves, because if Tom Brady is a 26-year-old quarterback, he's making $30 million a year.
Yeah.
Maybe even more.
He has won more than anybody in that circumstance. In fact, who's in Tom Brady's circumstance? Mm-hmm. Nobody. And yet when you continue to talk about the great quarterbacks that have played the game. So that's the history of the game.
Yeah.
Do people lead with Tom Brady? Almost never. I'm going to hear Joe Montana.
That's my pick, but you know what, Tom Brady.
I'm going to hear Johnny Unitas.
But it's more of a biasness, right?
Well, people talk about Peyton, how Peyton changed the game.
Yes.
You can talk about the Brett Favre.
Yes.
He must. No one's got the rings he does.
No.
And sometimes when we get into these conversations about, well, what did they win? He's won more than anybody. And I got news for you. He's going to win again.
He's going to win again this year.
He's going to win again.
Yep.
Now, on the list of those currently, so we did the entire contract per year. Didn't you say he's like, what is he, 15?
Yeah, 15th or 16th, yeah.
Again, it's just the timing of when that money
Was signed.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to, right?
But Matthew Stafford, an average of $27 million a year.
0 playoff wins.
Like I'm just stunned by it. Stunned by it.
He was, to his defense, and this is the only defense.
He's not a good quarterback.
No.
But this isn't good money.
No.
This is historically the greatest money
greatest
of all time.
money of all time, exactly. He was an MVP candidate through weeks 1 to 13 last year. I'll say that. This year, if he does anything, the Packers are there because the Packers have one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. The Lions will contend in that division. They will contend in the North Division.
Geez, you sound like you sound like my buddies who are Lions fans. Actually, they don't talk that way. They think they'll go, we're going to get up there and then have our hearts ripped out by a horrible pass, a terrible decision, a fumble, because that's what Detroit does.
I'm more of a believer, but I'm not a Detroit Lion backer by no means. But if we're talking in late December, and you're telling me the Detroit Lions have won the division, I'm not really sitting there going, yeah, okay.
Well,
next.
Chicago's
garbage.
Minnesota's
probably a 500 team, maybe a 9-win team. I mean, they have 3 teams in that division that aren't bad. I'm not going to say the Green Bay Packers are upper echelon at all, but I mean, they've almost been penciled in as the division favorite every year because of what they have at the quarterback position. They have arguably a top 3 quarterback in the world.
Yes.
So, and guess what? That's what wins you. That's why we're sitting here talking about the Denver Broncos. We're not sure. No quarterback. We're not sure about the Kansas City Chiefs. Great team. Who the hell do you have at quarterback? Do you trust small hands Alex Smith? I know I don't.
I think that if, and I'm, obviously this is pie in the sky stuff, but if you had, so the Oakland Raiders, if they were in the NFC,
yep.
Do we see an Oakland-New England Super Bowl?
Yes, you do.
I think I'd love to see. And so they're going to meet, by the way. They're going to meet in Mexico City. Is that correct this year?
Yes, it is. I think it's November, if I'm correct.
So if you're going to get a shot, whatever that legit shot is, of beating that team, if you're the Oakland Raiders, that's your moment. They've got to be circling that moment.
Yep.
In, was it Azteca Stadium that holds 400,000 people?
Roughly, yeah.
Some of them live in the stadium, I think. What a creepy stadium that is. They always tear up the turf. I think people die.
It's a hazard.
Yeah, it is.
On the field.
Yeah, people are delivering babies in that stadium. It's just weird. Before we let you go today, what is with the Ottawa logo?
Ottawa Senators, yeah. This is
and no eyebrows.
Right.
Like who came up with this? Like where is
I
this
think
found?
Russell has something to do with it because he's the one that pointed me in that direction this morning.
Okay, Russell, where'd you find this weird cartoony?
It's fantastic though. It really is.
Like Ottawa.
You take away the eyebrows from the logo and you get.
Wow, that's just.
I saw it on the hockey page on Reddit. Someone just.
That's not good.
They just randomly were like, "Hey, here's the Sens logo without eyebrows."
Yeah, well, why don't they just, I don't know if they're trying to emulate this, but when I take a look at that logo, it also reminds me of somebody else. His name, Powder.
Maybe that's a third jersey logo, right?
Look at that look. There's your logo right there, Ottawa Senators.
Adidas has come out and said there's going to be no third jerseys. Well, I disagree. I think there's the Senators' third jersey logo right there.
It's either Powder or Olli Jokinen. Oh, and by the way, also, we'll get this in, Maria Sharapova, after the shocking suspension that she had.
Yep.
She was back, Dave.
She's back.
Oh, she was back. And winning. Actually, didn't she knock off the number 2 girl? I got to tell you, I don't know nothing about tennis.
I was going to say, where are you going with all this tennis
I don't
stuff?
know. I don't know what it is. But
Way to go, Mr. Tennis.
All I know, Maria Sharapova was playing in the U.S. Open, which I probably, unless for our Canadian kid. Oh, my. That's right, George Takei. All right, let's see Maria Sharapova. This was something nice for a Tuesday. This will give you something.
The most anticipated opening match at the Open, Sharapova and Halep.
This crowd is buzzing because Maria Sharapova is back.
Hislop? Halep?
Wow.
Bozanis?
Maria Sharapova.
Oh, that's a great shot right there, Tom. Oh, that's a beautiful ground stroke, Tom.
She moved.
Look how long her legs are, Tom.
Out there, and the way that she served on a dime.
I wish I was her lover, Tom.
Wonderful.
1,095 days ago, almost 3 years to the day since her last U.S. Open victory.
There it is.
It's long.
Oh, yeah.
This wasn't for the trophy tonight.
Come on, guys.
But you wouldn't know it from Sharapova's reaction.
Russell, don't do that. No, not in here. Don't do that. Maria Sharapova beating, as I like to say, what's her face? I don't know.
You surprised me with the tennis highlights, man.
I don't know.
You want to go do karate in the garage? Yep.
Hislop? Halep? I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, it is time.
You're fine.
Russell now is so jacked up after those highlights. Russell, what are you watching downstairs? Is there anything? Women's tennis highlights? I told you to not do that. Leave me alone, Mom. I guess there's more matches coming up. I don't know.
There might be.
I think, like all tennis, this tournament goes on for about 2 months. Thanks to Kevin Porter. That was a great story today. Best of luck to him. We'll watch what he does. What do we got tomorrow? Do we have something fancy tomorrow?
You know what? We're talking to a couple different scouts that may be coming in, but nothing confirmed yet. On Thursday, though, the creator of the Vince Carter TIFF Festival movie is in, Sean Menard.
Excellent. You've been watching RealMikeRichards.com.